Okay, so this first task today is going to be one of the fairly, hopefully slightly easier one for you, and it's going to be recapping something that lots of you will have met before, but I want to get you practicing so that you're fully prepared for the topic that we are going to look at next week. Now, first thing we're going to do is remind you we're writing 4, the little 3 up the top. This little number up the top is called a power, or you might sometimes call it powers or indices, or the name for that little number at the top. I will largely say powers, but you might sometimes see me saying indices when I'm doing a question out of a book or covering some content that we've got from somewhere else, because that word is also used in maths. I will tend to say powers. You need to remember what this means. This means 4 times 4 times 4, or 4 times itself 3 times. So 4 times 4 times 4. Working out what that gives us, now you can just put 4 times 4 times 4 in the calculator, we get 64. There are some more efficient ways to put this in the calculator. If you're using some scientific calculators or a phone calculator, you might see this little symbol, or if you're using it on a computer, you might see this little symbol. Or some calculators, and certainly the iPhone calculator, has a little X with a Y up the top. That means this. And the last one you might commonly see, although there are other ways it's shown on calculators, is a little dotted box with another little box up the top. All 3 of these kind of appear, they all do the same thing. Depending on which one you got on your calculator, you can put this in. So you would either press 4 hat symbol 3, and it should give you 64, or you might press 4, the XY button, 3, and it might even, if you've got a fancy calculator, turn it into that. And then you press equal, and it should give you out 64. So check that. If you've got a calculator, now's a good time to kind of get it out. Use your phone calculator and check what happens. Most phone calculators use this now, but a few do use that still. Okay, so don't mind using the calculator for this at all. What's important is you understand what's going on. It's multiplying a number by itself a certain number of times, and that you can then get your answer. So a couple more examples. What does something like 5 to the 4 mean? Well, 5 to the 4 means 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. So we're multiplying 5 together 4 times. That's 25, 125, 625. Or again, you could put that in your calculator and find out what you get. Nice simple one that might be familiar. 7 squared means multiplying 7 together 2 times. And that gives 49. So yeah, again, that little 2, sometimes we call it specially squared rather than saying a power of 2. Bigger one, 8 to the 6. Okay, so some of the ones I'm going to give you in your practice work are going to give you pretty big answers. Don't worry about that. That's not a problem at all. So we're multiplying 8 together 6 times. That's what that 8 with the 6 up top, 8 power to the power of 6. So you end up with 2, 6, 2, 1, 4, 4. And I've just put that in the calculator to get my answer. So don't worry about any manual calculation here. The key thing is you understand what it means and you understand how to put it in the calculator. Slightly odd one for you. This one I just want you to be aware of. Up here, when I had 7 with a 2 up there, power 2, I multiplied together 2 7s. When I had an 8 with a 6 at the top, I multiplied together 6 8s. This is asking me to multiply together 119. Well, there's my 119, and I don't really need to multiply by anything. That's it, just 19. So 19 to 1 is just the same as 19. Or, in fact, anything to the power of 1, just that number. And that's just a handy little fact to have on the side. Now, this is a dangerous thing for me to say, but the one thing I do not want to see is I want to point out this is very different from 7 times 2, because that is 14. When we write 7 with the little 2 up in the power position, it's very different to this. So please, please, please make sure your little 2's or your little 6's are nice and small and written above, and make sure that it's really clear when you're working through it, you're really clear to remember that you're multiplying things by itself, not just by the power. Okay, so focus on the examples I've done there. Do not do this at any cost. Hopefully that gives you enough to get started. The task 1 examples. There's also a little extension activity there if this is something you're quite familiar with already. And then we will get on to question 2 shortly. Task 2 shortly, which gives us just an extra little idea in the same theme.